The store on the corner of Fifth Avenue opened at 7 in the morning. It was an ordinary supermarket. Not terrible. Not great. Just a place where hundreds of people came each day. Some for bread, some for deli meat, some just to walk around. I stopped by to grab a coffee and a few small things. The day began like any other. Gray sky, damp air after rain, and that strange feeling of emptiness I had long since stopped trying to explain. In line ahead of me stood an elderly woman, small, thin, with a look on her face that reminded me of my late grandmother. She held a basket with just a few items: bread, milk, 2 apples, a can of tuna, and a bag of rice. She moved slowly, placing each item on the belt with great care, as if they were fragile treasures. "Good morning," she said softly to the cashier. The cashier didn't even respond. Once everything was scanned, the total appeared: $16 into 2. The woman opened her worn-out wallet. There were a few crumpled bills and some coins. She started counting. Once, twice, then again, and again. She was clearly short. I'm sorry. I must have miscalculated," she said with an apologetic smile. "Could I maybe leave the tuna and the apples?" The cashier scoffed. "Feels like this place turned into a charity," she muttered. "Come back when you have money, or don't come at all." Laughter came from behind. "Come on, Grandma. You're holding up the line," a guy in his 20s in a hoodie said. "What is this? Picking out dinner for your cardboard box?" Clenched my fists, but the old woman simply nodded silently and packed up what she could. Just the bread and milk. "I'm sorry," she whispered again, and leaning on her cane, slowly headed toward the exit. One of her paper bags tore. She bent down to pick up the milk bottle, and that's when I stepped in. "Let me help you," I said. "Thank you." She smiled faintly. "Don't worry. I haven't had much kindness in a long time." She left and I remained standing in that line, watching people go on with their lives like nothing had happened. A week later, same supermarket, same checkout lane. But everything looked different. A new banner hung above the entrance. New owner, Miss Alice Gray. Grand reopening Monday. Alice Gray. I recognized the name. The same woman. Inside, the store had changed: warmer lighting, neater shelves, kind little signs on the walls, and most notably, all employees now wore new uniforms embroidered with the words, "Serve with dignity." And then I saw her. The same woman, but this time, in a tailored gray suit, her silver hair clean and styled, elegant shoes on her feet. She held a microphone and spoke to the staff. "Last week, I came here wearing clothes many of you would consider inappropriate," she began. "I wanted to see how you treat those who seem to have nothing, and I saw." The staff dropped their eyes. I was humiliated, but I hold no grudge. In fact, I'm grateful, because now I know exactly what needs to change, not just the store, but the attitude. From now on, this supermarket's first policy will be humanity. She approached the same cashier who had insulted her. "Miss Marie," she said, "you'll remain employed, but under my personal supervision, and you'll go through emotional intelligence training. I believe everyone deserves a second chance." The cashier stood frozen, speechless. Then the old woman, no, now Miss Gray, turned to everyone and said, "Remember, we never know who the person next to us really is. Sometimes the poorest looking is the richest in spirit. Sometimes the quietest hears the most. And sometimes the one you mocked today is your boss tomorrow." When I walked out of that store, my hands were trembling, not from the cold, from what I had just witnessed. We pass by hundreds of people every day, and every day, we have a chance to be human. This story is a reminder: kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything.